Hey everyone, good morning. Happy Friday. We are live this morning. I'm not sure if I like live or don't like live. You never know what's going to come out. But welcome to this morning's Recipe for Success. As you know, this is where we get to learn all about what leaders and entrepreneurs are doing to take their organizations from good to great, and a little bit about their own ingredients as well. So hopefully we are going to learn a lot this morning from our guest, Matt Caldwell, who I've come to know over the last 2 to 3 years and think he's amazing, the president and CEO of the Florida Panthers Hockey Club. So let's get Matt and bring him into our feed. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Laurie. How are you?
I am good. I'm really good. Thank you. It's Friday. And I don't know about you, but, I used to think my schedule was packed, right? But I didn't realize how much I should have appreciated the time in the car in between meetings. I no longer have that. So,
I usually use that time to call mom or check in with a friend, and none of that's happened. I still try to schedule that time in, but now I feel like I'm just going from Zoom meeting to Microsoft Teams to chat with you, but it's good. We're all trying to stay connected. That's good.
Exactly. So Matt, that's a perfect segue to my first question. Talk a little bit. So I don't know how remote the Panthers were. My guess is you were probably not that remote, and most people worked in the building right at BB&T Center. Talk a little bit about that transition to this virtual world and how it's affecting you all, the business team.
Yeah, so it's been a big effect. As you alluded to, we're in the business of let's call it mass gatherings, bringing people together, hockey games, concerts, and then even when a show or an event is not going on, we have all of our business staff and arena staff at the arena. We're always bringing folks out, giving them tours of the arena. So we really rely on very much a face-to-face environment. So this has been a dramatic effect. I've been very proud of our staff. We have a really dedicated, strong group of folks that are very flexible, and we were able to adapt pretty quickly. So everyone is working from home. We have I'd say maybe 95% of the staff. We have a small contingent crew of security staff and some arena ops people, a couple of critical functions that. There's some folks that are there 24/7 and keep an eye on the arena, and then there's others that just go in a couple of times a week, following all protocols, socially distant. We're cleaning the arena constantly. So that's been on the business staff. All the players, coaching staff, all the team operations, everyone's following protocol. They're all quarantining in their homes. So. We're all trying to ride this out together. It's a crazy time for everyone, but we're all sticking together.
It's interesting. It's as business people, you mentioned before we got on the call collaboration, and it's so funny because I think it was yesterday or the day before we did a show with a business leader who said, I had to get my people back in the office because we need to collaborate, and you have to be in person to collaborate. But yet, when I'm talking with you, right, 2 minutes ago, you said to me, you actually feel like your team is collaborating even more than they did before.
Yes. Yeah. It took us a couple of weeks. This wasn't something that we just kind of instantly turned on. I think our IT department, this is like their Super Bowl. They're loving all the remote access and laptops and iPads, so they have been warning us about this for a while. Obviously we go through a number of hurricanes here, so we've tried to prep for remote access and remote working, but now we're completely forced to do it. And what I found, especially over the last couple of weeks, is that what's happening is people get on their screens and they're actually a little more relaxed. Sometimes when you're in an in-person meeting, it can be a little tense, but now folks are kind of getting adjusted to working on their laptops. And then I'm finding people are much more open with anything they're working on. Hey, check out this document, Excel sheet, Word doc, PowerPoint presentation. And then we're really kind of in the details of everyone's own work. Whereas sometimes when you're in a face-to-face meeting, you don't have all those gadgets out. If those gadgets are out, you're usually just focused on your screen and not the person in the room. Well, now the person in the room is on your screen. So you're looking at them, there's really kind of nowhere to go. And yeah, listen, there's a separation of distance right now between you and I, but if we were working on something, I can pull something up and say, Laurie, I sent you this. Did you understand what this number meant? And the staff, I mean, I don't know if we would prefer it over face-to-face, but right now we're being just as efficient. And people are,
and you're feeling
so it's taken us some time. I'll share an article with you that has been floating around our staff where, some of the tech companies who have been working remotely, as part of their culture, talk about like the progression of remote working. And in the beginning, there's silos and people don't talk as much. And then kind of over time, they actually become much more collaborative. And then it gets to a point where when you have something that needs to be done, you send it to me, maybe right at that instant, I'm not ready to meet with you. So if you were knocking on my door, I feel bad because you're at my door, but maybe I'm not quite ready. And then now when you send something to me, you kind of plan it on your own time. And then, hey, Laurie, shoot you a little, text chat or shoot you a little Zoom and then jump on and then you kind of be more efficient. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, of course, so you mentioned something that I definitely was curious about, as a nonprofit, about $1 million of our revenue comes in through gatherings and events, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so since that is such a big part of your business model, how do you see that going forward? Is there talk about that out there in the gathering world?
Yeah, I mean, all the leagues, all the concert, the Live Nations of the world, promoters, they're all talking about the future. I think the general consensus, and you can see this anywhere, is that at some point over time we're going to get back to what we were doing before, right? Putting on live entertainment. Now, how long that's going to take and what's that going to look like? There's going to be a whole phased-in approach, which you can see the whole world is going through right now. So all the promoters and all the hockey leagues, NBA, they're all talking about what does return to play look like? Everyone's aligned, whether it's the commissioners or the owners or the players. They all want to get back and play, get back on the ice, but we want to do it in a safe way, and. We don't want to rush it. The last thing we want to do is kind of rush back and then something flares up. So it's being talked about every day, every hour. The communication's been tremendous between owners and commissioner, league and players to players, coaches. So we're all trying to figure this out. We're in uncharted waters. So there's a number of proposals that are being put out there right now, and there might be instances where we have to practice social distancing at festivals and concerts and arenas and all, and then maybe over time, especially once there's a path to a vaccination or there's more data about immunity that's built up, we can introduce more kind of close contact. So I think it's hard to forecast when all this will happen, but I think eventually. People love live entertainment. It's such a big part of our society. So the goal is to get back to where we were.
So Vinny Viola, the owner of the Panthers, and you, I believe, were also in New York at the time during 9/11. So this is not something that is new to you, unfortunately. And look how long it took, right? Maybe about 2 years or so, 18 months to 2 years for people to start flying again and for that protocol to be in place. So I know this is something that you all are familiar with, and have been through before, even though a virus is obviously very different than that in nature, but certainly something you all are used to.
Yeah, we've been through it. Vinny was the head of the New York Mercantile Exchange in New York and was instrumental in getting that exchange back up and running, which was very important for financial markets, especially the commodities markets. So he's been through a crisis before. We've been through, financial recessions like 2008. But you nailed it. I think this is more of a 9/11 type event, totally different in form, but a big external shock to the world that we're all, trying to adjust to. So this is a kind of an invisible enemy, if you will. You hear that all over the news and all, and but we're all working really hard. It's so inspiring to see people come together. I mean, you see everything about the healthcare workers. I'd be remiss if I didn't compliment them and everything they do. My own dad is in the hospital, luckily not for corona, but for something else. And the way that Cleveland Clinic and their whole staff has treated us has been incredible while they have this major, pandemic going on. So it
makes it so hard.
Yeah.
It makes it so hard because you can't be with your people, your
Exactly.
family when they're going through something in the hospitals. It's so interesting because I definitely want to talk to you as a leader. And because I know this for me, our organization is so much smaller, obviously than yours, but we're all going through some very difficult decisions, right? That we need to make from the business perspective, the financial perspective. So I worry about, how do I make sure that I preserve, right, and sustain and get through this so that we can be around a year to 2 years from now to continue to do the great work, that I believe we do, preparing young people. How are you approaching that? You and Vinny and the leadership team, how are you approaching that, right, from a financial perspective? How do you make sure, right, what are some of the tough things you're having to do?
Yeah. So starting with financially, that's the most difficult, right? You can look around, you see the unemployment levels, you see the number of businesses that are having to cut back, shut down. I compliment the federal government for stepping in and providing the stimulus bill that they have. And there's always going to be complaints, and it's hard to please everyone, but the country and everyone's really trying to rally. So financially, it's been very, very tough. We have no revenue coming in right now. Our owner's been tremendous. Vinny owns the team privately. So he's been, stepping up and taking care of employees and continuing to pay people, which has been tremendous. But we've had to cut back on just any other spending, basically outside of salaries, everything's at a freeze. Now, we're trying to honor every contract that we have. We're trying to, do the right things by all of our vendors. But we're working with them. Just as we're working with folks that, have contracts with us that owe us, money. So we're trying to work with people and do our best to be there. So financially, it's been really, really difficult. But, we're very involved with the league and with all of our concert, partners. And, we know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. This is not indefinite. So we're really just trying to weather the storm, day by day. But we've had to cut back spending really anywhere outside of salaries, at this moment. So culturally, we're just trying to over communicate with our people because people are stressed. You're watching the news, you're stuck in your house. You wouldn't be normal if you wouldn't be getting stir crazy right now. So we're all going through it. So trying to talk as much to folks and jump on the phone, jump on a Zoom, jump on, things like this to just be out there and connect. I'm probably talking to our people more than we ever had, because
there's no such thing as over communication.
There's no, not at all. Yeah. Even if you have nothing to say, sometimes it's okay just checking in. And, I'm usually one that's always got some agenda of things I'm trying to knock out and get done. And these times we still want to get things done, but it's nice to just catch up. Hey, how are you? Just like you asked me about Fernanda and Flora. So,
that was my first question to you, of course. The rest of this, our families are so important. But I think you're right. I mean, for leaders like you and I, we're about getting it done, right? We're about getting results. So we're learning, actually, I think, a new leadership skill. It's not new to a lot of people, but just slowing down and celebrating the things that we are doing, right? Like you said, you're proud of your team. I'm so proud of my team. For a year to 2 years, I've been talking about moving to things like a StreamYard or a Vidyard, and they would look at me like I was crazy. Right? They just want to give us more work, and now they're getting it, and their mindset is growing, which I love watching. Right? And so I'm being able to take a step back and be so proud of them, right, and watch them grow. And I think, like you said, take that second just to, okay, it's not the right time to push so hard. And that makes for a great leader, right? We push when we know it's time to push, but now it's time to slow down a little, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. It's all about empathy. I think that's what you're getting at, is knowing when it's like go time, and then knowing when you should be, slow it down and not put as much pressure on folks, because People are stressed out as it is, so, you want to make sure that you're thinking of them and being them there for their personal lives.
Exactly. So with that, I want to ask you this question, and then I know everybody's probably wondering a little bit. I'll go there first, actually. So last night was the NFL draft. First question, what did you think of how they did it virtually?
That did a great job. I mean, this is tough business, right? We're all, I said this before, but it's worth repeating. We're in uncharted waters, right? And think about someone who's, this young 18, 19, 20-year-old kid who's like worked his whole life for this moment, right? You always see these draft memories when they're with their families and they're crying, they're hugging and kissing, and they're getting the phone call and now they're, quarantining, and maybe they have their parents or a few friends. And it's just tough. You're not feeling the energy of the room. You're not walking up on stage. I mean, it's really, really hard. But I thought that the NFL, they do a wonderful job. I mean, I'm impressed with all the leagues, but they inserted some humor. They brought in some, sentimental feeling. They had good songs. They sang the national anthem. I watched most of the first round, most of the first 20 picks, I should say. So really, really impressive. And I think all the other leagues are considering doing something similar. We're not under that much of a time constraint that the NFL was, because the NFL's, their season's over and they're formally in the off season, whereas at least us in the NBA are still looking at ways to try to resume, the season that we were in. So I know the commissioners are all looking at various ways about whether to keep it the draft around the same time, June, July time period, or to try to wait and try to get some finality to the season before next, and then try to do it, whatever that may be. But all that's so speculative and up in the air right now.
Okay, so that's, I was going to ask you if you thought they were still going to have the draft in June. So not sure yet. It sounds like.
Not sure yet. No, it's the commissioner's been wonderful with communicating with scenarios with us, but and they're all working on every, and watching how last night went for sure. But nothing's even close to being decided yet. Yeah. But you'll be the first one I let know. How about that?
All right, I love it. We'll have to bring you back on the show to announce it.
Yeah, we'll do another Facebook Live.
I have an exclusive. But next time we have to have a sighting of Flora, I think. But
yes.
But so I think one of the things we talked a lot about our teams throughout this call, and I think it's really interesting to watch some people shine through this, right, and really taking on innovation and looking at new ways. When I think about the team, not the business team, but the players, right?
Right.
What do you expect to see, right? Because some players are going to be, staying fit, preparing, and others might take a different approach.
Yeah.
How do you think, what are you going to be looking for at the end of this with your team players?
Yeah, I mean, well, first off, the same principles apply as far as being empathetic and checking on them and their families and making sure that they're safe. So that was first and foremost. These are professional athletes. They would not have gotten to the place that they're at in their lives unless they worked really hard and prepared under any environment. So all of them are working really hard at home. They're just as hyper as you and I, and that much more. So they're just dying to get back on the ice. So,
yeah,
I hear from the coaches and the GM a lot, and they're all chomping at the bit. So we're not too worried about getting lax. I mean, they have off seasons every year. So it's almost like a mini off season, in the middle of the season. But
maybe they could do some virtual training sessions and open them up to because if they're doing their fitness, hey, I want to work out with the Panthers.
Yeah. It's a good idea. Yeah. We had our strength we did some version of that. Our strength and conditioning coach has been putting together workouts and publishing them. And then it's the same workouts that he's sending to the players. So our fans have liked that. And our players have been great. They've been jumping on, formats like these and talking to season ticket holders. So that's been really nice to see.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'm going to have to check that out. Been on the fitness kick since I've been home. So one other thing that I would absolutely be remiss not to mention and not to talk about with you is the commitment of the Florida Panthers and your owner, of course, personally to the South Florida community, right? I know that you just did the 5K, the virtual 5K Those that have not been to J World, although I can't imagine there's anybody who hasn't been there at this point, but you've seen the Florida Panthers storefront and all of the things you're doing in the community. Talk a little bit about that and how important that is to your organization.
Yeah, it's a top priority. I mean, it's not quite winning the Stanley Cup, but it's a close second. Because, at the end of the day, giving back and taking care of the community and being there is really something you can control, right? And you can control your attitude and kind of your commitment and everything. And as opposed to, it's hard to control wins and losses. That's you can get the best players, you can try to get the best system and all that, but it's obviously our goal, and we're in the business of trying to win and bring a Stanley Cup to South Florida, and we're working tremendously hard at that. But serving the community, there's no excuse for not doing it, in our opinion. And we come from military backgrounds, so it's very natural to us, starting with Vinny and a number of vets in the organization. So, and quite frankly, we miss the sense of purpose, and we miss serving. So this is it's almost like a selfish objective, because we get excitement out of getting out and helping. So if you've seen, we do it regularly, whether it's at your event, and I told Vinny that we were supposed to get you to your goal, and he just matched what your goal was. And I never saw someone so excited as you on that stage.
I thought my knees were going to buckle that night.
He basically fell to the floor. It was amazing. He whether it's doing items like that or in times of crisis, I think you can depend on the Panthers to always be there. So we try, for this, we've really been standing by our employees. We've told Broward County, the city of Fort Lauderdale, Sunrise, Coral Springs, that we're here for anything you need. You've seen us during hurricanes, and unfortunately during a terrible shooting tragedy, I should say, that we were, always there, trying to help out and do what we can. So it is a top priority. It's really our vision of what we see as a sports franchise. And we're really stewards of the community that are also trying to bring a Stanley Cup here.
Yeah, well, we thank you for that, and we appreciate that. I knew that you would mention, or I was going to mention, your military background, and I think I'm sure that there's so much that so many of those leadership skills that you developed right during your time. I know you were at West Point. I guess my question to everyone is, what's the main ingredient, right? What's the main leadership skill or value that you think, especially with what you're going through today, has made you successful?
Perseverance, hands down. And people use a lot of these like buzzwords, but this one I think is most important, because there's no secret ingredient. It's not like I'm going to say something that you're like, oh wow, I never really thought of that before. But there's ingredients that we don't quite push forward, or we kind of give up on, and perseverance is everything. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've failed, how many times I was thinking about giving up, how many times I have given up and moved on to something else and then regretted it. It's all about like putting your head down and just fighting through anything that's thrown at you. And right now I can't think of a trait that's so important, because there's so much uncertainty, and it's hard to see light at the end of the tunnel. But if you look at a history of this country and the world, we've gotten through much worse, and we can get through this. And we just have to keep rallying. And you're starting to see cracks in this virus. It's amazing. Think about it. The whole world listened to a self-quarantine measure. I would have never, if you would have told me this 3-4 months ago, I would say, no one's going to abide by that. People want to go to the grocery store when they want. They want to go work out. They want to go play sports. And in an instant, we all rallied and said, hey, we have to do this, stop the spread of this disease. And, it's been, there's a lot of horror that's going on. There's obviously a tragic death, which is just horrific when you think about it. But at the same time, there's a lot of people that it's inspiring to see how they're trying to save lives, starting with the healthcare people, but then, the regular population abiding by all these principles that the experts are putting out.
Yeah, I think you're right. I did a little video the other day, and I guess my word for that is relentless. Right. But same idea. Yep. We need to be relentless, persevere right through these times, and continue to strive for those things. And I love that you admitted, and I said the same thing in the video. I do fall, right? It just because we have a certain title doesn't mean that we don't fall or fail. but you know what? It's okay. I'm going to find another way, because you're determined to find that other way and get through. You're determined to get your organization through this.
Yeah, I would venture to say that in order to get a title or, a big promotion or, any kind of success, failure is a must. Because if you just kind of glided through life, if it was handed to you, or if it's something got slapped on you, the truth always prevails. You'll screw something up, because you have to kind of go through tough times, make the mistakes. Otherwise, you never learn at the end of the day.
Exactly. Exactly. So, and I think being open to that of, okay, what am I supposed to learn through this? And I've asked myself that question during this last 6-7 weeks. Okay, as a leader, what am I? What's my lesson here? Yeah. And so I think being open to that.
Yeah, definitely. No, it's a lot of times folks fail, and then either they just give up on whatever they were trying to achieve, or their ego gets in the way and they don't want to, take feedback or learn a lesson. Like quick little story, but cut me off if we have to go. Okay. I remember being in law school, and I got like my final exam back, and I had like a B, on the grade, which is unacceptable. And so I talked to the teacher, and I said, "Can I sit down and sit with you?" And when I sat with the teacher, the teacher figured I was going to come in, making up a million excuses and why I should have had an A and been a lawyer, right? I love my lawyer friends, but argue why I should have gotten an A. But instead, I actually went and said, "Hey, so what did I do wrong? Tell me, what can I learn?" The guy's like jaw dropped. He's like, "Really? I thought you were going to argue with me." I had like a whole, argument. I'm like, no, I'm really just trying to learn. The guy was shocked, so I still had a B, but at least.
Yep. And that's what makes you a fine leader in our community and with the organization. And so I want to thank you for all that you do, the organization, you personally, for all that you're doing in the community. By the way, if your people are feeling that withdrawal from volunteering, and I mean this sincerely, and I put this out to everyone, we are continuing to teach students virtually. And bring them leaders. Like, we will provide this video will also be available to our students so that they can hear from leaders like you. But there are volunteers who are virtually teaching lessons to our high schoolers on entrepreneurship and careers. And so if your people are interested, I'm happy to get some information over, because we'd love to have them.
Great.
But thank you for your service, to our country. Thank you for your service to our community. Thanks for taking the time this morning. I'm going to hold you to that exclusive on
all right.
With the
our PR team's listening, so we're going to have to give you a heads up.
Absolutely. But most of all, take care of yourself and Flora and Fernanda and your team. And we miss being with you all, and hopefully we will see you soon in person. Even though I know I still won't be able to give you a hug, but
we'll do a virtual hug, okay? We'll
figure out what we're going to do. But thank you so much, Matt, for being with us this morning.
I've really enjoyed it. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, honey. And for those of you watching, thanks so much for joining us. Look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Recipe for Success. Take care, everyone.